I want to start out by just expressing my great disappointment in this administration with the proposed $182 billion cut from the SNAP program over the next decade, and the implications that that has for so many food insecure families, vulnerable families throughout our country and in my district. In my district alone, I have 111,000 individuals that rely on these important programs. And quite frankly, I think it's not only callous, but I think it's extremely misguided. And I would be remiss if I didn't share with you my outrage with the direction this administration is going in regards to the SNAP program, violating the spirit of compromise that we reached on the 2018 Farm Bill, which dealt with a lot of these issues already. But here we are again. The president didn't get his way, and he's just continuing to just go after the most vulnerable. So please know that I'm extremely disappointed, as many people are. But with that, let me move on to other issues. Earlier, one of my colleagues mentioned the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, which is a bipartisan product that I think lends itself to a lot of potential. And I know you mentioned you were aware of it, but I'm just wondering, what is the administration, what are we doing to move that forward if it's such a reasonably decent piece of legislation and bipartisan?
Mention the program again, the farm, which program?
Oh, no, that was the legislation is the second one I'm speaking about. The first one was SNAP.
Yes.
But the bill that passed the House in a bipartisan fashion, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act.
Okay. Certainly, labor is a big issue, and we've been visiting with the other House here in the Senate to talk about the provisions there that could be included in that as the way any legislation passes in that regard. It's very needed. We need a legal, reliable workforce, as I indicated earlier. We need in this country to differentiate between immigration, which is one thing, and a legal, reliable, temporary workforce in agriculture.
Absolutely, and that's what that legislation would do. So I would hope that the administration is working with our friends in the Senate and trying to get them to really try to find that compromise so we could move forward with this legislation. Secondly, specialty crops grown on the Central Coast, which is in California in my district, are important to our local economy. These high-value crops such as wine grapes, citrus, and are vulnerable to pests and diseases. And USDA and the state of California have historically been strong partners in protecting these crops. That is why, again, I was disappointed to see the proposed cuts to the critical APHIS program in the fiscal year 21 President's budget request, including an $8.9 million reduction in spending to combat specialty crop pests. Just last month, APHIS and CDFA expanded the quarantine zone for citrus greening in my state. We've seen the impact this disease can have on states like Florida, yet the president did not ask for additional resources to fight this disease in his budget. Additionally, the president's budget proposes reducing spending on pests such as the glossy-winged sharpshooter, European grapevine moth, and the light brown apple moth, all of which threaten Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County agriculture production, which are the largest economic drivers in my district. How would these proposed reductions in spending impact USDA's ability to protect California's crop farmers from devastating pests and diseases?
Well, USDA and APHIS particularly understand the potential for pest destruction of industries. You mentioned the citrus industry and herbs, and I can assure you that they are using any money that's given appropriated to them in order to just to protect the crops in your area. As across the country, we've got other issues in Pennsylvania and the lanternfly and all those issues that are continued pests coming in, and we'll do the very best we can.
Thank you. And looping back to my initial question on SNAP, is California listed on the waiver list that you mentioned earlier?
Let me see if, I think there are several waivers in California. Yes, sir, there's 17 areas, labor market areas waived in California.
Are any of those San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara County?
I think so. We
Is that a think so or a yes?
I can't say for sure. I believe that you're listed on part of the area. I don't know what those 17 areas are specifically, but we have 17 labor market areas in California that waivers are issued.
Great. If we could loop back later on and
Yeah,
connect,
we'll get
that would
that
be
for you.
great. Thank you, Secretary Perdue.